This is a hard one, y'all. I'm so fucking furious. It's hard for me to. I've been trying to record this for the last 30 minutes, but I've had to stop a few times and start over again just out of pure rage. Oh, man. I've been trying and trying to get this word out about this new era of activism, especially in the last 6 years. This era of activism that requires black male blood to be sacrificed at the altar in order for a certain subset of black women to advance at the expense of men, while at the same time demanding male silence. And that shit is dead. Y'all know what it is. If you can check this one on nypost.com. It's entitled Inside BLM Co-founder Patrice Color's $1 million real estate buying binge. Now, the first article I saw a few days ago pissed me off, as it were, because it dealt with a $1.4 million purchase in Southern California. But there have been a few more that have come to light. And I've had brothers really commenting all over the place on it. I've had some brothers saying this is a distraction away from the Chauvin trial, the killer of George Floyd. I've had some tell me, she has the money. What's wrong with her buying the property? I mean, brothers are all over the place with this goddamn thing. But this is the thing. We've watched this shit happen. Now, I'm not talking about the actual grassroots movement of black folk struggling and pushing for some type of recognition of our issues, political mobilization. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the rise of the formal organization, BLM. Same organization that on its website until very recently had no place for black men other than our deaths. And had no problem ambulance chasing every black male death they could get their hands on just to bait and switch the conversation via intersectionality to black women and girls issues and LGBTs. So using black heterosexual men's deaths to bait and switch the issues and then make it about everything but the issue at hand, to advance policy that doesn't actually protect the men that are fucking dying. And now we're finding out that they're buying millions of dollars worth of property, right? We're not even being told how much they've collected. But the families of the men that have died, have they gotten a penny? No. What about the organizations that the slain's parents and family members started? Did they get anything? No. As a matter of fact, in Ferguson, and this is what I've been talking about for the last year, whenever I brought Nyota Uhuru on my show, go back to the early Onyx reports and you'll find her in there. I interviewed her at least twice. And we talked each time about the way BLM came into Ferguson and usurped all the attention and the donations from Ferguson activists that needed it, and then went from city to city and did the same shit. And we were told to shut up. We were told that anything like this deflects from activism, deflects from the push for justice. We were told that if you're critical of BLM, you're a sexist, you hate women, all of this deflective, shaming crap that had nothing to do with the issue, but had no problem sacrificing black male death. None. We watched it happen over and over again. And then we started hearing reports that families were promised help with the funeral and didn't receive any. And individual people who were promised that they would... Let me not lose it. All right, so nypost.com, I read the title. Let's get in it. All right, it reads, as protests broke out across the country in the name of BLM, the group's co-founder went on a real estate buying binge, snapping 4 high-end homes for $3.2 million in the U.S. alone. Patrice Colors, 37, also eyed property in the Bahamas at an ultra-exclusive resort where Justin Timberlake and Tiger Woods both have homes, the Post has learned. Luxury apartments and townhouses at the beachfront Albany Resort outside Nassau are priced between $5 million and $20 million, right? The Topanga Canyon homestead, the recent $1.4 million purchase, which includes 2 houses on a 1/4 acre, is just one of 3 homes Colors owns in the LA area. Last year, she and her spouse, Janiyah Khan, ventured to Georgia to acquire a fourth home, a custom ranch on 3.2 rural acres in Conyers, featuring a private airplane hangar with a studio apartment above it, and the use of a 2,500-foot paved grass community runway that can accommodate small planes. The Peach State Retreat was purchased in January 2020 for $415,000, 2 years after the publication of Concolor's best-selling memoir, When They Call You a Terrorist. In October, the activist signed a multi-platinum, this is where I'm getting, right? Here, let me move this on a little bit, right? Signed a multi-platform deal with Warner Brothers Television Group to help produce content for black voices who have been historically marginalized. Now, just to be clear, especially when you factor in, yet again, with intersectionality theory, right? When they say things like historically marginalized, basically it means everybody in the black community but black straight men. We're good enough to die. We're good enough to use our blood and sell it for land. We're not good enough to have our stories told. I mean, after all, there's nothing new to learn about black men. Black men haven't changed in the last 400 years, so why bother to talk about them? If anything, they're oppressive, they're exploitive. All they do is, they're worse than white supremacists. They're worse than slavery, right? That's the narrative, isn't it? That's the narrative, right? So anyway, they say it's not known how much Concolors received in compensation in either deal. She began her buying spree in LA in 2016. A few years after the civil rights movement, she started from a hashtag, Black Lives Matter, with fellow activists Alicia Garza and Opal Tometi, and began to gain traction around the world. I want to add another piece to this that I just want to have in here. I'm going to get to it. Wasn't planning to go here, but it'd be good to have. So many of these articles get taken down. They want to act like they never were posted, which is one of the reasons I like to blog. It's a good way to keep track of some of these articles that just manage to disappear when things get tight. Here it is. Anyway. All right. So continuing on. That year, she bought a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom home in Inglewood for $510,000. It's now worth over $800,000. She added her wife, co-founder of Black Lives Matter, a Black Lives Movement in Canada, to the deed in the family trust last year. The couple married in 2016. 2 years later, Concolors purchased a 4-bedroom home in South LA, a multi-ethnic neighborhood. She paid $590,000 for the 1,725 square foot home, although the price has since climbed to $720,000. 3 of the homes were bought in Concolor's name, and the Topanga Canyon property was purchased under a limited liability company that she controls, according to the public record cited by Dirt, the real estate blog that first reported the March 30 purchase. Last year, she and her wife were spotted in Bahamas looking for a unit at the Albany. A real estate source who did not want to be identified told the Post the elite enclave is laid out on 600 oceanside acres and features a private marina and designer golf course. Current homes for sale include a nearly 8,000 square foot 6-bedroom townhouse with a media room and marina views. The price is only available upon request, according to the resort's website. Donations and pledges from corporations and individuals poured into the movement. At that point in February, the BLM nonprofit co-founded by Concolors told AP that they took in $90 million in 2020 alone, with $21.7 million committed to grant funding and helping 30 black-led groups across the country. BLM leaders would not specify how much money they took in from prominent donors. It's not clear how much she makes in salary as one of the leaders of the movement, since its finances are split among both nonprofit and for-profit entities and difficult to trace. At the same time that Concolors incorporated the nonprofit, she also set up the similarly named BLM Global Network, a for-profit which is not required to disclose how much it spends or pays its executives. The outright, just blatant use of black male death for the advancement of a certain subset of elite black women, and nobody gives a shit. Now, there was a piece in the Washington Post. This is dated September 30th, 2017, right? And in it, you have a quote. This is a quote from Opal Tometi. She says, contrary to the widely held misconceptions that BLM was founded solely for men or boys, Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and I created Black Lives Matter for Black women. Now, even when this article calls it a civil rights movement, that's untrue. A civil rights organization, that's untrue, because civil rights was actually about the black community, not about one subset. But at the end of the day, as long as there's enough niggas to die every year, they don't have a problem with it. And I'm supposed to sit back and let this happen and enjoy it, not say anything. See, look, this is one of the reasons I actually came to YouTube, because I tried writing about this shit. I tried writing about it and putting it into journals. I tried getting it published in my own book. I got a book sitting on my hard drive. The problem with it, though, is you have so many of these presses that are catering to feminists that many of them wouldn't publish anything. And then two, even if you do get something published, it can take anywhere from 1 to 3 years. And that's when it's got a green light from the beginning. And your thoughts have just evolved in that time period. But by the time people get a chance to read it, they're reading what you were thinking 3 to 5 years ago. Because it might have taken you a couple of years to write it before it even got to the press. So the problem I've had with this is it's just too damn slow. And I don't like having to be told when and who I can get my message to. Hell, I've had black presses, I've had black journals change my charts, change the numbers in the charts, change the arguments I'm making, remove whole sections, just because, and then tell me when it's, even if the information I'm provided is empirically backed, telling me that it's too controversial, it's going to hurt too many feelings. And I'm not doing that shit anymore. So I came to YouTube and I started the Institute for Black Male Studies. The Onyx Report on YouTube is mine, so is the Institute, so I can say what I want to say and not have to wait until it's filtered through someone else's approval structure. Primarily so articles like this, or had I written one regarding this, can see the light of day. But this is the kind of stuff we've been talking about in Black Male Studies for years now. The brazen and blatant use of black male death as a footstool for an elite cadre of women to advance themselves at our expense, and then tell us to shut up, shame us about it if we say anything about it. And it's gotten even more blatant. And this is when I said I brought up Nyota Uhuru. One of the things we continually talk about every time I bring her on, because she's been one of the main ones out there. First of all, bringing up Brother Darren Seals. And then second, talking about the way in which BLM usurped the political momentum of Ferguson. Took the resources, took the donations, took the attention, took the social media spotlight, and then ran to the next city to start the cycle all over again. Now, am I counting all of the people involved? Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, they rode the wave of a grassroots movement that was starting anyway. It wasn't limited to BLM, but white folk got comfortable using BLM and they knew it and they exploited it. So BLM all of a sudden became the entirety of the movement. But that's not how it started. And it didn't start just when Michael Brown died. Actually, much of it kicked off when Trayvon passed. But when Michael died, it was a whole nother wave of it that came through. And people were talking about everything from hands up to don't shoot to doing die-ins, which I wasn't necessarily a fan of, but I appreciated the sentiment. And you had people from all over. When we used to watch those early Ferguson reports, you had everything from gangsters who were ready to shoot back at the cops to, working grandmothers who were out in the streets protesting. You had all kind of people out there. And then you had this cadre of mostly educated, elite, young college students, anywhere from 20 to 35, coming through. Pastors, churches, everything. Nothing wrong with that. But then the narrative started to change, and I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't put a finger on it until I heard Darren Seals. And that brother broke it down straightforward, straight ahead. And basically what he said was, you have all of these cats coming in here, and they're basically blood-sucking this movement. And he was right, and he's still right. And it took 6 years for some of y'all to even see it. Meanwhile, others are still telling people to be quiet. This bullshit is absolutely ridiculous and it needs to stop. This movement that they've been trying to start to continue going, that costs black male blood, needs to stop. Even the mothers are calling this shit out. Man, the mothers of the slain are calling this out. And this was an article that came out at least several weeks ago. And I was going to do a separate video about it, but something told me to wait. But anyway, Samaria Rice, as many of you know at this point, she was accusing activist Tamika Mallory of exploiting Black death for clout, right? And this is a piece you can find in Madame Noir, right? And it reads, for most people, the moment was seen as powerful and appropriate given everything we've been fighting for in the past year and since we were unwillingly transported to this country. But there was one person who took issue with the performance, Samaria Rice, mother of Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old boy who was shot and killed by Cleveland police officers when he was simply playing with a toy gun outside. Samaria received a $6 million settlement, but the FBI determined that Rice's death was justified, and Timothy Lohman and the officer responsible for taking Tamir's life acted reasonably. Unless you lost a child at the hands of the police and were then told his death was justified, none of us can begin to even imagine what Samaria has experienced and is still living with to this day. But then she writes on Facebook, and this is coming from Samaria, look at this clout chaser. Did she lose something in this fight? I don't think so. That's the problem. They take us for a joke. That's why we never have justice, because of shit like this. I tried to stay off this shit. Tamika and crew, UBs, chasing clout along with Sonny, Crump, and Lee. Y'all have literally effed up our fight. I hope not another family soul used y'all to represent them. Y'all might as well be junior pig cops. I'm mad as hell. Then later, I think she states, I'm tired of you BLM, Tamika Mallory, and crew Bs that's riding these families back, and y'all ambulance chasing attorneys too have effed up our fight, and y'all can kiss my ass. Make it make sense. You can't. Working with the devil is easy to do. F y'all. Right? We were really not prepared in 2015, 2016, and 2017 especially. We weren't prepared to need to be guarding the community against black organizations. We really weren't. Any more than we were prepared to have to really closely examine a black president. We were so happy to have one that it never dawned on us that we wouldn't actually advance under his leadership. Never dawned on us. It really never crossed our minds. Although I have no doubts. The first time we get a white woman president, white women are going to advance as a group. I promise you that. If we get an LGBT president, trust me, LGBTs will advance under that president. We get a black president, the first thing he's talking about is a rising tide lifts all ships, and we can't be divisive. So similarly, we weren't prepared to have to look at an organization like BLM and question it. Many were really naive about it. We saw black faces, we saw them in the streets, we saw them holding signs, we saw them talking shit, we saw them angry, and we said that's the appropriate energy. We were not ready. And I'm saying we as a community. I'm not talking about me individually. Because I've had questions for a long time, but I didn't know how to voice them until I heard Darren Seals. That brother set me straight on quite a bit, and he confirmed what I knew in my gut was happening, but I couldn't prove it, and I didn't know how to say it. But he did, and he called all of this out. Then, and is it any accident that he and a handful of other black male activists get killed, burned alive in a goddamn car? And nobody still talks about that to this day. The only activists that we've seen dying are the same as the ones who were getting killed that sparked the activism in the first place. Straight black men. The very monsters that we're told to avoid. And I mean that coming from street level social media to the academy. Just on my Facebook page a couple days ago, I had to post at least 10 different tweets from people talking just derogatory mess about black men. Everything, and I wish I was joking with you, but everything from wearing glasses and eating breakfast means that black men must be gay. Yes, those were individual tweets. All the way to Women coming out of the academy with graduate degrees talking about how detrimental and negative and oppressive black patriarchy is, but can't prove when it ever freaking happened. I'm telling you, the misandry that has been programmed in this last 4 decades, most particularly into the women and girls in the black community, is so disastrously deep-seated that most just accept it as the culture. I mean, it's not even regarded as misandry. Most people can't even tell you what misandry means. I used to start lessons for at least a good 2 years by asking if everybody could raise their hand if they knew what misogyny meant. I never saw one hand down. And when I asked about misandry, all the hands would go down. But the misandry is so deep-seated and widespread, nobody cares. It's just acceptable. It's acceptable, and it has been my entire lifetime, to say that niggas ain't shit. To say that men aren't necessary. To say that they're oppressive and exploitive without having to provide any evidence. I mean, you got scholars like Bell Hooks who don't put a citation anywhere, and it's acceptable, and can just come up with shit off the head about what she thinks black men are doing. Right? You got whole theories that are supposedly changing the very narrative of gender theory, like intersectionality, and yet no citations that somehow can clarify how exactly black men and when exactly black men and to what extent and in what ways they became these oppressive monsters that somehow it was just understood that they are. I mean, I told you guys before, I've sat in graduate classes with black professors using an intersectionality theory telling me that black men hate kids, hate family, hate... No! What you didn't take into account is that black men might have been having a silent protest at the changing of policy that impacted them disproportionately, especially when it came to family courts. For example, there are many others I could raise. None of that was ever entertained. It was just assumed that black men are just inherently trifling, inherently incapable, and inherently detrimental to the community, but not because they're targeted, right? Structurally, systemically, militarily, not that they're targeted in any kind of way, but just because they're a problem, just because they're inherently in their DNA oppressive monsters that need to be killed. What did one woman call it on Twitter last year? We were bullet bags. It came from a black woman. And the funny part is, even if we say that these are fake Twitter accounts, when they're getting up to 700,000 and 100,000 likes and women are passing it around and these are women but this is acceptable, right? And when black men begin to speak out about it, we're even more monsters. We confirm everything that's already been levied against us. But then you get brothers that come on to YouTube and want to say, well, you just playing the victim. We got to stop doing that. And I'm like, playing the victim? Motherfucker, can you see what's actually being done? What's actually being said? Are you looking at the data about how black men are being treated? This is not recent. This is decades. This is, generations really, but it just takes new forms every generation. And I'm so tired of it because just in the last week, I've talked to brothers who've lost their jobs because they've been falsely accused of rape. I've talked to brothers who've been falsely and arbitrarily accused of, everything from stealing to pedophilia. No evidence, no nothing. Whole reputations torn apart. Brothers having strokes in their 20s and 30s behind the stress of being falsely accused of things that others don't even have to provide evidence for. I got brothers contacting me on the verge of suicide on a regular basis. I got brothers that I read about that are dying left and right in all kinds of different ways, whether it's due to police or vigilante violence, whether it's due to mysterious circumstances, whether they just get disappeared. And what I get told most is we need to stop complaining, stop whining. Nothing's really happening. We just need to puff out our chest and try harder. Word. That's the problem. If you check black history, there's really nothing black men in particular haven't done across the spectrum to advance not only themselves, but their families and communities. There's nothing that hasn't been done. Nothing that hasn't been tried. And we like to act brand new like it's not happening, but I'm telling y'all, this shit is getting thick. Things are getting desperate. People are getting desperate. And it's coming to a head. And I'm really hoping that black men will, if nothing else, begin to deal and trust in each other. Because there's no other alternative. There's nobody else coming. I fully agree. We got to do this ourselves, but it can't happen if you're not even willing to accept what the hell kind of onslaught is being levied against us. And I'm not saying that so we can be inactive and make excuses. I'm saying it so we can be clear. If you're playing chess and you want to set up a strategy to oppose your opposition, you need to know where the pieces are on the board. You need to understand the strategies that are being used against you. So when you form and implement your own plan, you've taken into account the plan that's being used against you. We can't enter this blindly. It is not an accident that you got women like this in like Con Colors and Patrice Colors. It's no accident you got women like this. At the same time, we're seeing Goldman Sachs, MasterCard, Visa, Google, and 100 other smaller programs advancing black women. This is not an accident. There's no group of women that have faith in the men that they earn more than. Doesn't happen. We're the only community that makes less when you factor in incarceration. That's not an accident. You're not going to have any political mobilization like you did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. As long as you're in a dynamic where your women have been advanced to your detriment, and after several different generations have now learned to accept black men as beneath them simply because it's what they've seen. None of this is accidental. But I hope y'all stand with me. I hope y'all stand with each other. I hope you reach a hand out to another brother and actually begin a dialogue. I don't care what his political ideology is, what his religion is. At the end of the day, black men are under fire militarily, politically, culturally, socially, educationally, in every fucking context. Black men are at war. We really don't have time to sit up here and argue with each other over bullshit, yell back and forth over women, money, none of it. We don't have time. We're being attacked at every turn and told that it's not. Pissing, what is that phrase? Pissing on our head, telling us it's rain? Yeah, that's real. And even when it comes out as blatantly as we're seeing it, with articles like this telling us that you got these people who've been happy to say that black men couldn't take any authoritative position in the organization because historically they've oppressed and excluded women and LGBTs, even though they ain't got no problem whatsoever putting our faces on a sign and using it to advance to our detriment, and that's acceptable. I am not against activism at all. I think there are many different forms of it, but I'm not against any of them in particular as far as, the type. Whether you're out in the street holding signs, whether you're operating online, whether you're teaching in a classroom, coaching a group of kids, mentoring, big brothering, I don't have a problem with the different forms that activism comes in. Matter of fact, I hope you take one in one way, shape, or form and help. Especially the boys. Because I'm not seeing it. But I hope we do one of these things. I hope you take one in. If you're not doing something already, that you find something to do and you find your way to contribute and don't let anybody tell you it ain't shit because it ain't their way. No, find something. But at the same time, call this mess out. There's far too much blood spilled for one person to be buying $1 million homes off of it. This is a goddamn disgrace. Oh, man. I'm gonna get off here before I say something I really don't mean. Look, y'all, do something, help somebody, connect with another brother. Please, we don't have time to let shit like this continue to undermine black men, most particularly. We got too much work to do, fellas.